Hello class, good morning.
Morning, ma'am.
Hello, can you hear me? Nakikita niyo yung sa screen?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay. So I think we can start. Ilan na ba kayo dito? 32 participants. Okay. So once again, good morning everyone. So for today's discussion, we have the ABO blood group system to be, along with the H blood group system. So later on, you will understand why are we having a simultaneous or concurrent discussion of your ABO and your H blood group system. Okay, so let's have first a brief introduction for this chapter. Okay, so blood group antigens are being formed as part of your red cell membranes. So antigens class basically differ depending on the inheritance of blood group genes. So not all blood group antigens are considered intrinsic to the RBC membrane. So for example, there are antigens from other blood group systems. Specifically, we have, for example, the antigens in the Chido-Rogers blood group system. So these antigens class are formed on your, they are formed on your, or they are located on your complement protein, specifically your C4. Okay, so these antigens are not intrinsic to RBC membrane, rather they are found on your complement protein, specifically your C4. Okay, so these antigens class are being absorbed onto the red cells from the plasma. Okay, because your C4 are plasma protein. So that is an example of a blood group antigen that is not basically found, or that is not basically originally located on your RBC membrane. Okay, your Chido-Rogers blood group system antigens. Okay, so we have here a definition of your blood group system. Blood group system, it is composed of antigens that are produced by alleles at a genetic locus or loci which are considered closely linked. So your blood group antigens, these are molecules located primarily on the red cell membrane. But sabi ko kanina, blood group antigens, not all blood group antigens are being located or originally located on your red cell membranes. Okay. And another thing is that for consistency class, the International Society of Blood Transfusion, the ISBT, okay, International Society of Blood Transfusion, the ISBT, provided an additional terminology that is suitable for use with your computer software. And aside from that, uh, the ISBT is provided these terminologies to standardize blood group systems and antigen names. So the ISBT has assigned genetically based numeric designations for the different red cell antigens. And according to ISBT class, ISBT criteria, genetic studies and serologic data are required before an antigen is assigned to a blood group system. So in this discussion, we are talking about the ABO blood group system. So the ABO blood group system has been assigned by the ISBT with the number ISBT number 001. Okay, paki-add na lang sa notes ninyo. So the ABO blood group system has been assigned the ISBT number 001. While your H blood group system has been assigned the ISBT number 018. 018. Okay. So in the H blood group system class, this blood group system has only one antigen. Okay, and we are going to discuss this together with your ABO antigens. It has only one antigen class, the H antigen, big letter H antigen. Pakisingit na lang sa notes ninyo. The H blood group system has been assigned, I repeat, the H blood group system has been assigned the ISBT number 018, and this blood group system has only one antigen, which is the H antigen, big letter H antigen. Nakuha?
Ma'am, pakiulit po.
Okay, saan yung uulitin ko? Saang part? Choppy ba ako, class? Hindi naman.
Di naman po, ma'am.
Okay, saan ang uulitin ko na?
Ma'am, yung before po sa has only.
Okay.
May one antigen.
Sa H ba? Sa H wait lang, ulitin ko na lang. So, in your ABO blood group system class, the ABO blood group system has been assigned the ISBT number 001. Okay, ISBT number 001, that is for your ABO blood group system. While for your H blood group system, it has been assigned the ISBT number 018. And this H blood group system class has only one antigen, which is your H antigen, big letter H. Big letter H, antigen.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nakuha? Okay. So the ABO system is considered as the most important of all blood groups in transfusion medicine or transfusion practice. Why? Because this is the only blood group system in which individuals have antibodies in their serum against antigens that are not present on their red blood cells. So we discussed this in our previous discussions, the Landsteiner's rule. Okay. So considering this class, itong statement dito, it is the only blood group system in which individuals have antibodies in their serum against antigens that are absent from their RBCs. So this happens, class, without any RBC exposure by either transfusion or pregnancy. Okay, that is why transfusion of incompatible blood types, the transfusion of incompatible blood types will subsequently result into what we call as your fatal or severe hemolytic transfusion reactions. Okay, that is why it is very important for us, class, to consider ABO compatible units for safe transfusion. Okay. So let's have the historical overview of your ABO blood group system. So we have here Karl Landsteiner, which discovered the first blood group system, which is the ABO blood group system. And he was also the first individual to get, along with his five co-workers, he was the first individual to actually perform the forward and reverse grouping. So in this experiment, he was able to describe blood groups such as your blood type A, B, and O. And years after that, his co-workers, by the name of Von de Castello and Stirling, they also discovered the blood group AB in addition to the A, B, and O blood groups. Okay, so class, sabihin nyo pag nag-chachapi ha. Okay, we have here the Landsteiner's rule. So this Landsteiner rule, class, na-discuss natin ito sa ABO phenotyping natin. This rule states that in a normal, healthy individuals, they possess ABO antibodies against the antigens that are absent from their red cells. So, lagi niyong tandaan yon. So in the experiment of Karl Landsteiner, in the year 1901, but in some sources 1900s, okay, that marked the inception of this rule. Okay, his experiment, the discovery of the ABO blood group system, marked the inception of the Landsteiner's rule. Okay, so again, let's have a recap on your Landsteiner's rule. So example, if an individual with a blood group A red cell possesses so in a blood group A na individual, it has an A antigen on the red cells and it lacks the B antigen. Therefore, these individuals possess now your anti-B antibodies. Okay, so I hope paulit-ulit na nating sinasabi ito, paulit-ulit na nating dinidiscuss, and I hope na memorize nyo na yung concept. Okay, the relationship between your ABO antigen and your ABO antibodies. Okay. Okay, so we have here a table, your ABO phenotype frequencies. And in here, you can see that sa Asian, this includes Chinese, Filipino, Indian, Japanese, Korean, and Vietnamese. Ang prevalent na phenotype sa Asian ay blood group O. Okay, but in the white population, we have here also O. Black population also O. Rare lang ang AB. In the Hispanic population, we have here O also. So dito sa table na to, we can see that your phenotype O, or individuals having a blood type O, are highly prevalent across all population. Okay, and followed by your A and your B. Then ang pinaka-rare ay low frequency phenotype would be your AB. Okay. So let's have now your ABO blood group system antibodies. Let's talk about your ABO blood group system antibodies first, bago yung antigens. So in here, we discussed this noon. ABO antibodies are considered naturally occurring or non-red blood cell stimulated. Why? Na-explain na natin to noon. Anyone from the group? Kung sinong nakaka-recall sa inyo? Why are your ABO antibodies considered as naturally occurring antibodies? Why are they present without any exposure to red blood cell antigens? Paano sila na-produce in the serum or plasma of individuals? Anyone?
Mama ko po.
Okay. Ria? Tama ba?
Yes po, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, kasi yung explanation po natin dati, habang lumalaki tayo, is we are being exposed to different microorganisms or different antigens that possess the characteristics of the different antigens po, katulad po ng A, and then B, kung saan nagpo-produce na po yung katawan natin ng antibodies against those microorganisms na yung sinabi ko nga mo, nagpo-possess po sila ng antigen-like characteristics kasi they are ubiquitous and they are always present or they are
Present
halos
everywhere.
makikita sa iba. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that is the explanation why our ABO antibodies are present in our serum or plasma without any exposure to RBC antigens. Okay, so iulit ko lang yung sinabi ni Ria. So there are biochemical structures that are similar to your A and B antigens that are present in the environment. Okay, so like for example, in your bacteria, these A and B antigen-like, okay, structures are present in the environment, for example, in bacteria, in plants, in pollens. Okay, so as we grow class, humans are being continuously exposed to this bacteria, plants, and pollens. Okay, so they are as we grow, we are continuously exposed to this A and B antigen-like structures. That's why nagkakaroon tayo ng anti-A and anti-B antibodies in our serum or plasma. Okay, so your ABO antibodies, other than they are termed as naturally occurring antibodies, they are more appropriately, okay, described as non-red blood cell stimulated antibodies. Okay. Other sources would only describe your ABO antibodies as naturally occurring, but in some sources that I've read, they describe your ABO antibodies as non-red blood cell stimulated antibodies. Okay. So in here, newborns, okay, newborns do not produce their own ABO antibodies until they are 3 to 6 months of age. And the maximum ABO titer have been reported in children aging from 5 to 10 years old. So when we say titer class, when we say titer, this is the quantity of your ABO antibodies. Okay, when we say titer, this pertains now to the quantity or number of or concentration of your ABO antibodies in your plasma or serum. Okay, so ABO titers, you have to always remember that ABO titers, they decrease as the person age. Basically because antibody production wanes through our antibody wanes over time. Meaning wanes, W-A-N-E-S, wanes. Antibody wanes over time, meaning antibody production decreases in amount as we age. Okay, you always have to remember that. So in here, class, in this first statement, newborns do not produce their own ABO antibodies until they are 3 to 6 months of age. This is one of the cause of your ABO discrepancy. So if you are going to determine the blood type of newborns, okay, if you are going to perform a forward and a reverse typing, it is expected na wala kayong makikitang reaction on the reverse typing. Basically because newborns, sabi nga natin, newborns do not produce their own antibodies until they are 3 to 6 months of age. So example, if you have a baby which type as A, blood group A in the forward typing, wala kayong makikita na agglutination on the B cell. Okay, in the reverse typing. Kasi wala pa siyang na-produce na ABO antibodies. Okay, so again, I have to reiterate that maximum ABO titers is being achieved at 5 to 10 years of age. Okay, so let's have now the characteristics of your human anti-A and your anti-B. The immunoglobulin, when it comes to immunoglobulin class, your anti-A that is being produced by group B individuals and the anti-B produced by group A individuals are predominantly your IgM. Your IgM class with small amounts of IgG. Okay. Again, I repeat that anti-A and the anti-B are predominantly of the IgM class with small amounts of your IgG. Okay, but we are going to discuss later on that the anti-A and anti-B antibodies produced by your group O, okay, here, are primarily of the IgG class. This is an additional information for everyone. Sabi natin noon that your ABO antibodies are actually naturally occurring and they are of the IgM class. But in here, we have an additional information, and anti-A and anti-B specifically produced by your group O individuals are primarily of the IgG class. Okay, tandaan nyo yun class ha. Pag group A and B individuals, yung ABO antibodies na na-produce nila would be of your IgM class, predominantly IgM with small amounts of your IgG. But the ABO, the A and B, anti-A and B antibodies produced by your group O individuals are of IgG class. Okay. So we have here hemolytic properties and clinical significance. So the IgG, both the IgG and the IgM forms of your anti-A and your anti-B, they are capable of activation and binding with that of your complement, and eventually they have the capability to cause hemolysis of red cells both in vivo and in vitro. Okay, so the ABO antibodies class, the ABO antibodies are considered, guys, wait now. Okay. Pasensya, may istorbo lang saglit. So, okay, let's continue. Saan na tayo? Hemolytic properties. So, sabi ko kanina, the ABO antibodies are considered of clinical significance in transfusion medicine. Class, when we say clinical significance, these are antibodies capable of causing decreased survival of transfused cells, as in, for example, in transfusion reaction. So, meaning, antibodies that are capable of causing transfusion reaction. Okay, so in immunohematology, when we say of clinical significance, antibodies considered of clinical significance, these are antibodies that are capable of causing now transfusion reaction. Okay, and these antibodies class are basically have been associated with your hemolytic disease of the fetus and newborn. Okay, hemolytic disease, what we call as the HDN or HDFN. Hemolytic disease of the fetus and newborn. Pakisingit na lang class sa notes ninyo. Nakuha nyo yung ibig sabihin na when we say of clinical significance? These are antibodies that are capable of causing now your transfusion reaction, and these antibodies have been associated with what we call as your hemolytic disease of the fetus and the newborn. Hemolytic disease of the fetus and newborn. Class, nakuha?
Yes,
Are you
ma'am.
still with me?
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes po.
Okay. So let's move on to your in vitro serologic reactions. So ABO antibodies, they directly agglutinate in a suspension of red cells, specifically in a physiologic saline environment. Why? Ito yung nasa exam ninyo. ABO antibodies directly agglutinate a suspension of red cells once suspended in a physiologic saline environment. Why? Class, anyone? Anong sagot nyo? Nasa exam nyo to. In connection to your, dun sa discussion natin sa agglutination, sa principles in agglutination. Anyone from the group? Why do ABO antibodies directly agglutinate a suspension of red cells, especially in a physiologic saline environment? Remember, we have the zeta potential, the repulsive force present in a physiologic saline environment. Tama? Why? Bakit ganito yung statement? ABO antibodies directly agglutinate a suspension of red cells in a physiologic saline. Anyone? May mga black B ba dito? Sino mga black B? 3C and 3A lang nakikita ko. Anyone? Nikki, may we hear from you? Nikki.
Yes po,
Any guess? Any explanation you can give us dito sa statement na to? Anong sagot mo sa exam? May we hear from Pat? Patricia?
Wait lang po. Hindi ko mabuo.
Sige lang, kahit cut-cut, if you feel natin, kukumplituhin natin.
Ma'am, pwedeng i-try ulit, ma'am?
Sige, Ria.
Ma'am, kasi napag-connect ko lang po kanina, ma'am. Di ba, according to sa immunoglobulin class natin, ma'am, anti-A and anti-B is predominantly of the IgM class, ma'am. Wherein, di ba yung IgM po, ma'am, may capacity po siya to span the distance between the red cells that can increase na the rate of agglutination without the help of any potentiators po, ma'am. Kaya kung meron po tayong, kaya nagkakaroon po tayo ng direct agglutination sa suspension of red cells, ma'am.
Okay, that is exactly the answer. That is exactly the answer. Your ADO antibodies, sabi natin, specifically those anti-A and anti-B antibodies. Thank you, Ria. Thank you for that. So, sabi natin, ADO antibodies are predominantly of the IgM class, specifically those anti-A and anti-B antibodies produced by A and B individuals. So, sabi natin, dahil IgM siya, sabi natin with your IgM, they are pentameric. So, they are large enough. These antibodies are large enough to span the distance between red cells caused now by the repulsive force or the zeta potential. Okay, so in here, your IgM detection is easily facilitated. Okay, even in a physiologic saline environment. Okay, so yung sinabi ni Ria, that is the exact answer for your, I think that is the question number 1 in your exam. Okay, so sa lab, IH lab exam. So let's move on. ADO antibodies do not require any additional potentiators. Yun nga, because the ABO antibodies, specifically of the IgM class, are large enough to span the distance between red cells caused now by the zeta potential. Okay, so wala, hindi na tayo gagamit ng any potentiator or any enhancement technique or media. Okay, compared, in contrast to that of your IgG detection. So your ABO antibodies are optimally reactive in immediate spin phases. When we say immediate spin, anong natatandaan nyo dito? This is a step wherein
Walang incubation period.
yes, exactly. Okay, thank you. So your immediate spin step requires no incubation period. So once na na-add mo na yung reagent mo with that of your samples, no need to incubate, direct na centrifuge, and then you have to read the reaction. Okay, so antibodies, your ABO antibodies are optimally reactive, or they are being detected in immediate spin phases at room temperature, or temperatures ranging from 15 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius. So sabi natin, your IgM, they are cold reacting antibodies. They Anong sabi natin with the temperature sa IgM? They react best. These antibodies react best at room temperature or even lower
37.
temperatures. Okay. Unlike your IgG, they react best at what? Your IgG antibodies react best at
37 degrees Celsius.
37.
37 degrees Celsius. Okay. So, I'm happy na may na-retain pa from the previous discussions. So, okay, let's move on. Human anti-A and we have here human anti-AB. Okay, aside from anti-A separately, anti-A and anti-B antibodies, we also have human anti-AB. Okay, this is an additional information to all of you. Okay, again, this is an additional information. So we have your human anti-AB produced by group O individuals. So the activity of your human anti-AB is regarded as a specificity that is considered cross-reactive with that of both of your A and your B antigens. Okay, so a cross-reactive antibody class, this is capable of recognizing a molecular structure which is common to more than one molecule. Okay, so your anti-AB recognizes, so in here, your anti-AB recognizes a particular antigenic determinant which is common to more than one molecule, or specifically your A and B antigens. Okay, so note that your anti-AB agglutinates with red cells of your group A, B, and AB phenotype. Okay, because dito sa mga phenotypes na to, the red cells of these individuals have both the A and B antigens. And sabi natin that anti-AB, this antibody can recognize a particular antigenic determinant which is common to more than one antigen. Okay, so that is why it is considered as a cross-reactive antibody, your anti-AB antibody. Okay. Another info in your notes, you have here a human anti-AB. It also agglutinates your red cells of the subgroups of one of the subgroups of your A, particularly your AX. Okay, this very weak subgroup of your A, we are going to have a brief discussion about this sa dulo ng this, I think last part ng chapter na to. Okay. Before the Bombay phenotype. Okay, we are going to discuss that. So we have also here your anti-A1. Okay, so you've learned that aside from we have the anti-A and anti-B antibodies, we also have your anti-AB, which is considered as a cross-reactive antibody. And also, aside from your human anti-AB, we have your anti-A1. Okay, so paano nagkakaroon ng anti-A1? Anti-A that is being produced, this antibody, the anti-A antibody being produced by your group O and the B individuals, kasi your group O has no A antigen, tama? Has no A antigen on the red cells, so meron siyang anti-A. And so with your blood type B, individuals, wala silang A antigen on the red cells, kaya sila nagpo-produce ng anti-A. Okay, so this anti-A being produced by these individuals can be separated by adsorption and elution techniques, and they can be separated into two, and this will be your anti-A and your anti-A1. Okay, so once your anti-A is being produced in the serum, it can be, these antibodies can be separated by techniques such as your adsorption and elution techniques, and they can be categorized into two, anti-A and your anti-A1. So your anti-A1 class, this is specific for the A antigen, and it does not agglutinate your A2 red cells. Okay, it does not agglutinate your A2 red cells. And your anti-A1 class, since sabi natin, this is predominantly of the IgM class, so its optimal reactivity is at room temperature or even lower temperatures. While your we also have you what we call your tawag dito, your A2. We have your A2 red cells kasi class. We are going to just an overview. I think mas maiintindihan nyo mamaya pag nasa subgroups na tayo. Kasi we have your subgroups A1 and your A2 antigen under your A antigen. Okay, so mamaya mas maiintindihan nyo pag nandun na tayo sa subgroups. Nabanggit ko lang yung A1 and your A2 antigens because we are talking about the anti-A1. Okay. So you will learn later on what's the difference between your A1 antigen and your A2 antigen. So in here, we don't have, as sabi ko kanina, we have your A2 antigen. But basically class, we don't have anti-A2. We don't have anti-A2 because the A2 red cells possess the same antigen with that of your A1. Okay. We do not have anti-A2 because the A2 red cells possess the same antigens with that of the A1 phenotype, only that reduce ang number ng A antigens in your A2 compared to that of your A1. Okay. Okay, so that would be for the brief description of your anti-A1. Punta na tayo sa ABO and H blood group system antigens. Yung discussion natin kanina, the ABO antibodies. So ngayon, pupunta na tayo sa ABO and H blood group system antigens. So we have here general characteristics of your ABO antigens. So sabi dito, ABO antigens, they are located on red cells, lymphocytes, on your platelets, and epithelial cells, endothelial cells, in the organs such as your kidneys. So your ABO antigens class, hindi lang sila focus or hindi lang sila restricted on the red cells, okay? They are also located in your lymphocytes, platelets, endothelial cells, and in other organs, especially your kidneys. Okay. So, your ABO antigens class that are located on your red cells are called now your red cell antigens. Okay. Red cell antigens. And ABO antigens class that are being located or that are synthesized and they are being secreted in the body fluids. These are your soluble antigens. Okay, so ABO blood group system antigens, they can be in two forms. They can be in two forms, I repeat. So we have here first form, the red cell antigens. Red cell antigens, they are antigens found on your red cell membranes. Okay, and they can exist as either a glycolipid or a glycoprotein. And the second form of your ABO blood group system is what we call as your soluble antigen or soluble antigens. Okay, so these antigens class, they are located or they are being detected in body secretions and all body fluids except your CSF. Okay, and in contrast to that of your red cell antigens, they exist primarily as glycoproteins only. Okay, they exist only as glycoproteins. So, naintindihan nyo yung dalawang form ng ating ABO blood group system antigens or our ABO antigens. They can be found as red cell antigens, meaning they are being bound to red cell membranes. Pag sinabi naman nating soluble antigens, these are ABO antigens found in your body secretions and all other body fluids except for your CSF. Okay, and another difference is that your red cell antigens, they exist as either glycolipid or glycoprotein, but for your soluble antigens, they only exist as glycoproteins. Okay, so ABO antigens class they are being detected 5 to 6 weeks in utero, and newborns are considered they have fewer number of antigens on the red cells compared with that of an adult, and this can cause now a possible ABO phenotyping discrepancy. Okay, kaya meron tayong mga weak reactions in the forward typing, specifically when the samples are obtained from newborns, okay? Because they have fewer antigen numbers or antigenic sites on the red cells compared with that of an adult. Okay, so possible pag sa forward typing, magiging weaker, it will be the red cells will demonstrate weaker reactions compared to that of your adult red cells. Okay. Sorry. So it says here, antigen development occurs slowly until the full expression of adult levels is reached about 2 to 4 years of age. Okay, so sabi natin dun sa antibody natin kanina, hanggang saan ang maximum or anong age yung maximum na nagkakaroon tayo, anong age yung nagkakaroon tayo ng maximum na antibody titer? It's 5 to 10 years of age. Pero nag-i-start na mag-produce ng ABO antibodies kailan? Starting from 3 to 6 months. Okay? Doon tayo nag-i-start na mag-produce ng ABO antibodies, and the maximum na concentration ng ABO antibodies natin is being achieved at 5 to 10 years of age. But dito sa antigen natin, your ABO antigens, they can be detectable as early as 5 to 6 weeks in utero, and the maximum full expression of these antigens on red cells, they can be achieved at 2 to 4 years of age. Okay? So let's have now the inheritance of your ABO blood group. So dito na natin maa-apply yung genetic principles in blood banking, yung mga terms natin like amorph, the recessive, dominant, codominant, autosomal. Okay? So dito natin ma-apply. That's why sabi ko, it is important for us to learn about the basic principle, about the basic genetic principles in blood banking for us to understand better the inheritance of or the blood group systems. Okay. So Bernstein in 1924, he was the one to describe the theory for the inheritance of your ABO blood groups. So the inheritance of your ABO genes follows a simple Mendelian genetics, which is an individual must inherit one gene from his father and one gene from his or her mother. Okay, so that is a very simple Mendelian genetics. An individual must inherit one gene from the father and one gene from the mother. Okay, so that will be the genotype of the individual. Okay, and the phenotype talks about the observable trait, meaning phenotype, when we say phenotype, that is the blood type of the individual. Okay, and when we say genotype, we are pertaining to, when we say genotype, we are pertaining to class. When we say genotype, phenotype, we are pertaining to the blood type of the individual. That is the observable trait. Paano naman pag genotype? We are talking about
Yung actual genetic makeup po, ma'am.
okay, we are pertaining to the actual genetic makeup or to the actual genes inherited by the individual. Okay, so in here, one position are the genetic loci or locus on each chromosome 9 is being occupied by your A, B, or O gene. Class, for consistency, dito sa notes ninyo, kapag naka-italic or pag naka-italicize yung letters, like for example here, itong A, B, and O, we are pertaining to the gene. Pero kapag nakaganito lang siya, yung normal, itong O na to, we are talking about the antigen. Okay? Para hindi kayo malito kasi an A gene, ang product niya would be an A antigen. So, para ma-differentiate natin kung alin ang tinutukoy natin, naka-italicize yung A, B, yung letters. Okay? Pag naka-italicize yung, pag italics, so A, B, and O, we are talking about genes. Pero kapag yung normal lang siya, pag hindi siya naka-italicize, we are talking about the antigen. Okay? So, your ABO genes are being located on chromosome number 9. Okay, chromosome number 9. And in here, your O gene is considered as an amorph, meaning your O gene is a silent gene and it has no detectable antigen product. Okay? Na-discuss natin yan in the previous chapter. So your group O phenotype is actually an autosomal recessive trait. Why autosomal? Why autosomal, class? Because di ba we defined your autosomes and your sex chromosomes last time? Why autosomal? Autosomal because the O gene is being located on your autosome, specifically your chromosome number 9. Okay, sabi natin our autosomes these are non-sex chromosomes. These are actually your numbered chromosomes, starting from chromosome number 1 up to chromosome 22. So sila yung tinatawag nating autosomes. While your sex chromosomes, these are your X and Y chromosomes. These are your X and Y chromosomes. Okay? So tandaan nyo yun ha. So autosomal, when we say autosomal, because we say autosomal because the O gene is being located on the chromosome number 9. Why recessive? Because why recessive? Kasi anong sabi natin sa recessive? When we say recessive inheritance pattern, paano na ma-manifest ng individual yung trait? It requires that
O gene must be present in both parents po.
Dapat walang O gene na detectable. The O gene should not have detectable product po.
okay, so the O gene, since or considering that the O gene does not have a detectable antigen product, then paano na ma-manifest ng individual? Paano na mamana ng individual yung trait? It
The O
requires
gene?
that
O po. O.
the O gene must be inherited from
From both parents po.
both parents. Okay? So sabi natin, lagi niyong tandaan, when we say recessive inheritance pattern, we are always talking about genes without antigen product. Okay? They have no detectable product. So para ma-manifest ng individual yung trait na yon, the genes must be, it requires that the genes must be inherited from both the mother and the father. Okay, so that's why we say that group O phenotype or individuals having a blood type O is an autosomal recessive trait. Okay. It is inherited, this trait is being inherited by recessive inheritance pattern. Okay, so in this table, we have here examples of your ABO genotypes and your phenotypes. Okay, in here, we have an AA, specifically A1, A1. This is a homozygous A. So the phenotype, the observable trait of the individual would be a blood type A, specifically blood type A1. Okay. We also have here homozygous A, specifically A1, A2. So the phenotype would be an A1. And A10, we have here a heterozygous A. Heterozygous A, combination of your A and your O gene. Tama? Kasi sabi natin, heterozygous, these are combinations of two different genes. Tama? While your homozygous, these are the combination of homozygous genotypes, combination of the same inherited the same genes. Tama? Combination of the same genes. So in here, we have an A1 gene, specifically A1 gene and your O gene. So this is a heterozygous A genotype, and the observable trait would be an A1. Then in here, we have here another homozygous A, specifically your A2, A2. Observable trait is A2. And dito, okay, in the succeeding, we have here OO, heterozygous, homozygous. Kasi hindi siya dapat the individual must inherit both the O genes from both of his parents, his or her parents. So ang mamamanifest na trait dyan would be a blood type O. And so with your homozygous BB, okay, homozygous B genotype or BB, so phenotype would be a blood type B. And so with your BO, which is a heterozygous genotype, ang observable trait would be your B. blood type B. Okay. So let's have now the formation of your A, B, and H red cell antigens. Let's talk about red cell antigens first. Susunod natin yung soluble antigens. Okay, so first, how are these A, B, and H red cell antigens formed? So the formation of your ABH antigens class, they result from the interaction of genes. As these three genes, we have your ABO genes, your HH genes, and your SE genes. Your SE gene class meaning secretor yan. Your SE meaning secretor. Paki-note na lang dyan sa copies nyo. So, the AB, these genes, itong tatlong genes na to class, the ABO, the HH, and the SE genes, they produce a specific protein which is called your glycosyl transferase. Diba sabi natin, dun sa, balik tayo dun sa genetic principle. Sabi natin, from the DNA, we have your specific areas which are called your genes. And these genes class, anong sabi natin? They encode or they code for the production of your proteins. And these proteins now class, they are molecules or they are structures that are responsible that are responsible for the formation of your antigens. Tama? So dito, i-apply natin dito, we have here your ABO, your HH, and the SE genes. These genes class, itong tatlong genes na to, they produce a protein. Okay, and this protein class is called now your glycosyl transferase. Okay, these glycosyl transferases class, these proteins, ang ginagawa niya, ang role nila is that they transfer or they add sugar to what we call as the basic precursor substance. Okay, in order to form now your ABH antigens. Okay, naintindihan nyo? Genes, then we have your proteins, and then the end product would be the antigens. So in here, we have your ABO, HH, and SE genes. They produce proteins specifically called your glycosyl transferases. And these glycosyl transferases class, they add sugar to this basic precursor substance in order to produce now your A, B, and H antigens. Okay, the production of your A, B, H antigen depends now on what particular sugar is being added to this basic precursor substance. Naintindihan nyo? So we have here, class. We have here. Guys, nakikita nyo ba?
Yes po.
Okay, we have here, sorry for the drawing. So we have here a structure, okay? And this basic structure is what we call as the glycan. Paano ba to? So this is what we call as your glycan or your paragloboside. Okay, so dito si glycan or what we call as your paragloboside. So si glycan natin class, this structure is what we call as the basic precursor structure. Okay, that is our basic precursor structure. So, or in short, that is the precursor structure. Okay, for the formation of your A, B, and H antigens. And again, we have here, okay. So we have here a gene. Paano ba yun? We have here a, bakit tayo magsulat? We have here a gene. Okay, wait. Saglit. We have here a gene. We have here another gene. And we have here another gene. Okay. So in here, class, this is your, sabi natin, the formation of our ABH antigens can be traced to the interaction of your three genes. We have your ABO, we have your ABO, we have your ABO, then we have your HH, and your SE. Okay, so we have here an individual inherited these genes, your wait lang. Tingnan na. The ABO genes, the HH, and the SE genes. So these, let's have first the ABO genes. So this ABO gene class, this ABO gene in particular, it produces now a glycosyl transferase, a protein called a glycosyl transferase. Okay, mamaya na natin i-specify yung overview muna as a general. Okay, yung general overview muna ng kung paano na-produce ang ating, na-form ang ating ABH antigen. So, we have here, if the individual inherited this ABO gene, okay, this ABO gene will now produce or will now encode for the production of your
galactosyl transferase.
of a particular glycosyl transferase. Okay, and this protein class, this protein this glycosyl transferase class will now add a particular sugar. This will add a particular sugar. Kasi ang role ng ating glycosyl transferase class, sabi natin, they add or they transfer a particular sugar into this basic structure here, this basic precursor called your glycan or your paragloboside. So once na na-inherit natin yung ABO gene, nagproduce siya ng protein which is your glycosyl transferase, and itong glycosyl transferase na to class will add a particular, sugar here. Ia-attach niya, it will attach a particular sugar in this paragloboside. So the end product now of this enzymatic reaction will now lead to the formation of the different antigens. So naintindihan nyo yung flow? We will specify mamaya kung ano yung mga specific na glycosyl transferase na yan, ano yung mga specific na sugars. You have to understand first yung kung paano yung flow, kung paano na form yung antigens natin from the inheritance of your genes to the formation of your antigens. Naiintindihan nyo, class? Naiintindihan nyo yung concept? Hello, class.
Ma'am, pwedeng paulit lang po for clarification lang po, ma'am.
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay. So we have here your basic precursor structure, which is called your glycan or your paragloboside. Okay? So if we pag sabi natin the formation of your A, B, and H antigens are the product of the interaction of 3 genes. We have your ABO gene, your HH gene, and your SE gene. Okay, so these genes, once we inherit these genes, each of these gene encodes for the production of your proteins, specifically glycosyl transferases. Okay, itong proteins na pinoproduce ng ating ABO, HH, and SE genes are specifically your glycosyl transferases. And these glycosyl transferases, class, ang role nila would be to add a sugar. They add or transfer or attach a sugar to this basic precursor substance or basic precursor structure. So kapag may na-attach na silang sugar dito sa paragloboside natin or glycan, ang end product, that entire structure, including now your sugar na na-attach, would be your antigen. So meaning, yung paragloboside mo plus the attached sugar will now determine kung anong antigen ang na-produce. Naintindihan? Before we proceed dun sa formation ng each of your antigen, this is the general concept, class. You have to understand this in order for you to understand the formation of the respective antigens, formation of your A, B, and H antigens. Naintindihan niyo yung general concept?
Yes po, ma'am.
How about the others?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, so I assume na lahat naintindihan nyo. How about the others dun sa mga iba? Aside from dun sa mga laging nagsasalita. Guys, naintindihan nyo? Yung iba. So walang nagtatanong. So I am assuming na naintindihan nyo yung general concept ng formation of your A, B, and H antigens. I assume naintindihan yung lahat. So let's proceed now to proceed to the next. Okay. So sabi natin, we have our precursor substance. Dun sa general na concept kanina, nabanggit natin yung precursor substance. Your precursor substance is what we call as your glycan or your paragloboside. Okay? So yung paragloboside natin, class, or the glycan, it comes in two types. We have the type 1 and the type 2. So anong pinagkaiba nito? When we say type 1, the type 1 precursor substance or the type 1 paragloboside, this is associated primarily with the formation of your soluble antigens. Okay, associated primarily with body fluids and secretions, meaning this type of precursor substance is responsible for the formation of your soluble antigens or soluble ABO antigens. Naintindihan? And your type 2 naman class, when we say your type 2 paragloboside, this is associated primarily with the formation of your red cell antigens. Class, nakukuha?
Yes,
Type
ma'am.
1, pag type 1, ang precursor if we are talking about type 1 precursor substance, this is responsible for the formation of your soluble antigens, meaning the ABO antigens in your body fluids and secretions. Pag type 2 naman class, pag type 2 ang pinag-uusapan natin, this is associated with, or this type of the precursor substance is primarily responsible for the formation of your red cell antigens. Red cell antigens, we are talking about the antigens that are bound or that are located dun sa red cell membranes ninyo. Okay? So I hope naintindihan nyo. And then we also have here the H and the SE genes. The H or HH and the SE genes are closely linked and they are located on your chromosome 19. While your ABO genes class, they are located on your chromosome 9. ABO genes, they are located on your chromosome 9, while these genes class, your H and the SE genes, they are located on chromosome 19. Okay, but the inheritance of the formation of our A, B, and H antigens are the product of the interaction of your ABO genes, your HH genes, and your SE genes. Okay. So the inheritance now of your H gene class results in the formation of your H antigen, meaning ang end product ng the end product of the inheritance of our H gene is the H antigen. And ang end product ng inheritance ng ating ABO genes ay ang ating A and B antigens. Ang product naman ng inheritance, the product of the inheritance of these SE genes, if the product of the inheritance of H gene is the H antigen, and the product of the inheritance of our ABO genes are this A, B antigens on the red cell membranes. How about your SE genes? Your SE genes, ang product niya would be your A and B antigens in the body secretions or body fluids. Okay? Paki-note na lang yan, pero i-discuss pa rin naman natin mamaya. Para lang mabilis nyong tandaan. So again, I repeat, the inheritance of your H gene results in the formation of your H antigen. The inheritance of your ABO gene results in the formation of your A and B antigens on the red cells. your SE gene results in the formation of your A and B antigens in the secretions. However, you have to take note, class, that in order for the formation of your ABO antigens on the red cells to occur, aside from inheriting your ABO genes, dapat ang isa ring mai-inherit ng individual would be your H gene. Nakuha? The H gene, sabi dito, the H gene must be inherited aside from the ABO gene in order for your ABO antigens to be expressed dun sa red blood cells. Okay, and you will understand that mamaya pag nasa formation na tayo ng inyong A and B antigens. Okay, we have this figure here. The difference between your type 1 and your type 2 precursor substance or your glycan or paragloboside. So when we say type 1, sabi natin, this is associated primarily sa body fluids and secretions, meaning this type of the precursor substance is responsible for the formation of your soluble antigens, soluble ABO antigens, while your type 2, this precursor substance is responsible for the formation of your red cell antigens. I keep reiterating this, class, para mas tandaan nyo. Okay? So type 1, when we say type 1, ano ang difference nila as to structure? So your type 1 here, as you can see, ang difference nila nandito between the link between your galactose, your sugar galactose, and the N-acetylglucosamine. Nandito ang kanilang difference, the link between your galactose and the N-acetylglucosamine. Nakita nyo yung difference? When we say type 1, we have here the beta 1 3 linkage, meaning the number 1 carbon of your galactose, okay, we are now reviewing your organic chemistry. So the number 1 carbon of your galactose here is being linked to the number 3 carbon of your N-acetylglucosamine. That's why we have here the beta 1 3 linkage. Naririnig niyo pa ako, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Guys, naririnig niyo pa ako?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Naintindihan nyo? We have, for the type 1 precursor substance, ang structure niya would have a beta 1 3 linkage. This beta 1 3 linkage pertains to the number 1 linkage between the number 1 carbon of your galactose plus the number 3 carbon of your N-acetylglucosamine or glucosamine. Okay? While for your, in contrast with your type 2 precursor chain, we have here a beta 1,4 linkage. Beta 1,4 linkage, meaning the number 1 carbon of your galactose is being linked, okay, is being attached to the number 4 carbon of your N-acetylglucosamine, creating now a B1,4 linkage. Guys, tandaan nyo to kasi isa to sa mga basic concepts during the board exam review. Ha? Okay, type 1, we have here beta 1, 3 linkage. Type 2, we have beta 1, 4 linkage. When we say type 1, this is responsible for the formation of your soluble ABO antigens. When we say type 2, this is the precursor chain, or this is the precursor substance responsible for the formation of your ABO red cell antigens. Kuha? Guys, naintindihan nyo yung difference between your type 1 and your type 2 precursor chain or precursor substance?
Yes po.
Okay. Let's move on. Okay, punta na tayo sa formation of your H antigen. Your H antigen class, sabi ko kanina, is the only antigen in the H blood group system. And sabi ko rin kanina, why, isa sa mga sinabi ko kanina is that you are going to understand why are we discussing the H blood group system simultaneously with that of our discussion sa ABO blood group system. Because class, basically, your H antigen, the structure of your H antigen is the precursor structure for the formation of your A and your B antigens. Hindi mapo-form ang ating A and B antigens kung wala munang H antigen structure. That's why sabi ko kanina, aside from the inheritance of your ABO gene, you have, or an individual must inherit the H gene for the formation of your ABO antigens. Naiintindihan? Because class, from the H antigen structure, mafo-form ang inyong A and B antigens. You get now? Do you understand why are we discussing why are we discussing two blood group system in this chapter? Naintindihan nyo?
Yes po.
Okay, so sabi ko rin kanina, the H gene is located on your chromosome 19, while your ABO gene is located on your chromosome number 9. Tama? So we have here in the H locus, we have two alleles, meaning alleles, these are gene variations. So we have here the big letter H and the small letter H. The big letter H and the small letter H genes. Okay, so the H allele, this is a dominant allele having a very high frequency of greater than 99.99%, meaning this can be observed in greater than 99.99% of the population, whereas your H allele, your small letter H allele is classified as an amorph, meaning siya ay silent gene having no detectable antigen product. Ano ang silent, ano yung isang gene natin kanina? So, dalawa na ang na-encounter nating amorph genes class. You have your O gene, and the second one is ito, the H gene, yung small letter H gene. Small letter H. Yung big letter H, that is the dominant allele. It has a detectable antigen product. Whereas your small letter H gene, this is classified as your amorph gene, or amorph or your silent gene. And this is This occurs in, or this can be observed in the population rarely. Okay. So the red cells from an H, okay, homozygote, meaning a homozygous H inheritance or a homozygous H genotype having now both your small letter H. This is classified now as your Bombay phenotype. And this will be explained on the last part of the discussion, your Bombay phenotype. Okay. Let's skip the definition. Punta na tayo sa formation ng ating H antigen. Okay. Please focus your attention here, class. Dito, sa figure na to. So, in the formation of your H antigen, we have the inheritance of your H gene. Sorry, hindi siya dapat italicize yan, class. H gene. We are pertaining to a gene. Okay. So, the H gene class, inherited as either the combination of your both big letter H or the combination of your big letter H and small letter H. Okay. It elicits now, so the inheritance of your H gene elicits the production of your enzyme or your protein called now your alpha-2-L-fucosyl transferase or your FUT-1. So this protein or this enzyme class transfers or adds the sugar L-glucose to our type 2 precursor substance. Class, this is our type 2 precursor substance. Siya yan. This is our type 2 precursor substance. Yung in-explain ko kanina na may beta-1,4 linkage. This is our type 2 precursor substance, or this is our type 2 paragloboside. This is the precursor substance. Okay? And sabi natin, the inheritance of the H gene produces now a protein. Yung protein na yun, specifically, that is the alpha-2-L-fucosyl transferase. At ano ang ginagawa ng enzyme na yon or yung protein na yon? It adds a sugar. Ano yung sugar na ina-add niya dun sa ating precursor chain or precursor substance, that is specifically the sugar L-fucose. Okay? So nakukuha nyo na yung flow, na-apply nyo ba yung general concept dito? Yung in-explain ko kanina, yung pinakauna, yung general concept. Diba sabi ko, we have our basic precursor substance here. We have your paragloboside or your glycan. Ito yung structure ng ating glycan. And sabi natin, once we inherit one of the genes, specifically, once we inherit the H gene, it will now produce a protein or an enzyme called your alpha-2-fucosyl transferase. And this protein class or this enzyme will add now the sugar L-fucose. Ia-attach niya yung L-fucose na sugar dito sa ating precursor substance. So this sugar plus our globoside or plus our paragloboside structure, this entire structure now, class, is the structure of our H antigen. So this is now how your H antigen is being formed. Your paragloboside, which is the precursor substance, attached to it is the sugar L-fucose. So this entire structure is the structure of your H antigen. Naintindihan? Naintindihan, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, for the sake of those who are not responding, the inheritance, so in the formation of, pag ito hindi nyo na-explain sa akin during the orals, I will give an all or nothing ha sa oral exam ninyo. All or nothing score. So, ulitin ko, in the formation of your H antigen, first we have the inheritance of your H gene. The H gene class will elicit now the production of your protein or an enzyme called the alpha-2 fucosyltransferase. And this protein or enzyme will now transfer or add sugar, specifically your L-fucose sugar, to this basic precursor substance or basic precursor structure, specifically or type 2. Type 2. Class, please take note that we are talking about the formation of your ABH antigens in the red cells here. So when we say formation of ABH antigens in the red cells, we are talking about the type 2 na precursor substance, okay? So your alpha-2 fucosyltransferase now will add or transfer sugar, which is the L-fucose, into your type 2 precursor substance. And the product of this enzymatic reaction is now the formation of your H antigen. Okay. So the gene product here is the L-fucosyltransferase or the alpha-2 L-fucosyltransferase. That is the complete name. Shortcut. We have here L-fucosyltransferase. And the immunodominant sugar, this will be the sugar being added to the type 2 precursor structure, which is your L-fucose. So when we say, pagtatanungin ko kayo later on, ano ang immunodominant sugar in your H antigen specificity? That confers for H antigen specificity. That is the L-fucose. So your immunodominant sugar class, this is the sugar or this is the structure that determines or that confers the specificity of that antigen. So when we say H antigen, when we are talking about the specificity of your H antigen, ang immunodominant sugar dyan, responsible dyan ay yung L-fucose. Pag tinanong ko kayo later on what is the gene product of your H gene, that is the protein. Ang isasagot nyo sa akin would be the protein. And that is the alpha-2 L-fucosyltransferase. Okay. Let's proceed to the formation of your A antigen. Formation of your A antigen. Dito class, mas marirealize nyo na kung bakit kailangan nating ma-inherit ang H gene along with your ABO gene in the formation of your A and B antigens on the red cells. Okay. Let's have here your A antigen. So in the formation of your antigen, we have the inheritance of your ABO gene. So in the inheritance of your ABO gene, that confers or elicits the production of the enzyme or protein called now your N-acetyl-galactosamинyltransferase. And this N-acetyl-galactosamинyltransferase will now add sugar, specifically your N-acetylgalactosamine, dun sa H antigen structure natin. Naintindihan? Class, nakikita nyo ba yung nakikita nyo ba? Itong dito sa first na na-form, your H antigen, this is the structure. And in here, in the formation of your A antigen, ang magiging precursor structure niya would be the H antigen. Hindi na yung paragloboside natin, class. Naintindihan?
Yes po.
In the formation of your antigen, ang ating precursor structure is your type 2 paragloboside. In the formation of your A and B antigen, ang precursor structure natin would be your this one, the entire H antigen structure. Yung na-form na H antigen structure. Naiintindihan nyo? That's why kailangan munang ma-form ang ating H antigen bago before na may formation of your A and your B antigen. That is why, sabi ko kanina, aside from inheriting the ABO gene, an individual must inherit the H gene in order to form your A and B antigens on the red cells. So in class, naiintindihan nyo na why is it that kailangan nating ma-inherit both your H and your B, both your H and your ABO gene. Naiintindihan nyo na class? Because the precursor structure of your A and B antigen is actually your H antigen structure. Do you understand? Naiintindihan nyo? I know the concepts in immunohematology are actually hard to understand or assimilate, lalo na if binasa nyo si Harmony. Si Harmony, ang dami-dami niyang sinasabi. But this is the simplified example of the formation of your ABH antigen on the red cells. Okay? So again, I repeat, in the formation of your A antigen, we have first the inheritance of your ABO gene, aside from the H gene. Okay? So the inheritance of your ABO gene will now produce or will now elicit the production of your protein or enzyme called your N-acetylgalactosamine transferase. And this enzyme class or this protein will add the N-acetylgalactosamine sugar to this H antigen structure. So ito na siya. This is your H antigen structure class plus yung na-add na sugar. The N-acetylgalactosamine or galactosamine. So the end product of this enzymatic reaction now class is your A antigen. So to simplify, H antigen structure plus your N-acetylgalactosamine or galactosamine will now form your A antigen structure. Intindihan? So the gene product in the formation of your A antigen is the N-acetylgalactosamine transferase. What immunodominant sugar confers for the specificity of your A antigen on the red cell? That is your N-acetylgalactosamine or N-acetylgalactosamine. Okay, so that is the immunodominant sugar for your A antigen formation. Punta na tayo sa B antigen formation. In your B antigen formation on the red cells, we have the inheritance of your ABO gene. The inheritance of your ABO gene will now elicit the production of the protein called now your galactosyl transferase. The ABO gene will now produce or will elicit the production of your galactosyl transferase. Saglit class. I forgot. Dito sa ating, nakalimutan kong banggitin. We have a specific gene here. Di ba sabi natin we have your ABO gene. In your ABO gene, it has 3 alleles. We have your A, your B, and your O alleles. These are the gene variations. Your A, your O, your A, your B, and your O genes. Okay, so in the formation of your A gene class, in the formation of your A gene, we have the inheritance of your ABO gene, is specifically your A gene. Yun lang yung gusto kong idagdag doon. Specifically your A gene or your A allele. And in the formation of your B antigen, we have the inheritance of your ABO gene, is specifically your B gene. B gene. Okay, so the B gene now class elicits the production of the protein called your D-galactosyl transferase. And this protein class or this enzyme adds the sugar D-galactose dun sa ating H antigen structure. So H antigen structure plus your D-galactose sugar attached here will now form your B antigen. So, pag tinanong ko kayo, what is the gene product in the B antigen formation? That would be your D-galactosyl transferase. And what immunodominant sugar confers the specificity of your B antigen on the red cells? That would be your D-galactose. Kung ano yung sugar na i-attach dun sa ating H antigen structure. Guys, naintindihan nyo kung paano na-form ang ating A, B, and H antigens on the red cells? Nakuha?
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So, ito na yon. Yung in-explain natin doon sa figure, ito na siya. So, you are going to ask me, ma'am, paano naman, anong nangyayari dun sa O allele or dun sa O gene natin? Kasi 'di ba, nagamit na natin si A gene, na discuss na rin natin si B gene. Okay? So, ma'am, paano naman si O natin, si O gene? So, the O allele at the ABO locus class is sometimes, sabi natin, that is referred to your to as your amorph or your silent gene, and it does not, the inheritance of this allele, of this particular allele or this particular gene does not elicit any production of a catalytically active enzyme that will add sugar to the H antigen structure. Therefore, sabi natin, dahil wala siyang protein na na-produce, wala siyang enzyme, the inheritance of your O allele does not have any protein that does not produce any protein or does not produce any enzyme na sana mag-a-add ng sugar doon sa ating H antigen structure. At dahil dyan, ang ating H antigen structure remains unmodified. So once we inherit the O gene, particularly the O gene class, your H antigen structure remains unmodified. Kasi nga, wala naman siyang na-produce na protein na mag-a-add sana ng sugar dun sa ating H antigen structure. At dahil walang protein na na-produce, wala ding na-add na sugar. So at dahil walang na-add na sugar, ganun pa rin yung ating H antigen structure. So H substance remains unmodified once we inherit the O allele or the O gene. Naintindihan? Kaya nga class, those individuals having a phenotype of group O, the red cells of this individual carry no A and they carry no A or B antigens. Naiintindihan nyo na kung bakit walang present na A and B antigens kapag group O yung individual? Naiintindihan nyo, class? Because the inheritance of your O gene does not produce any protein that will add sugar dun sa H antigen structure natin. That's why walang na-form na hindi nako-convert yung ating H antigen structure into either your A or B antigens. And since ang ating group O red cells carry no A or B antigens and the H antigen structure remains unmodified, so in the red cells of this individual, is very rich in H antigens. Okay, this is again a new information for all of you. Group O red cells does not have A or B antigens, but they are rich but they have a very high amount or number of your H antigens present on the red cells. Okay, naiintindihan nyo? Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I hope kaya nyong ma-explain ito later on pag tinanong ko kayo. Do I have to repeat it? Do I have to repeat it? Kapag yung O allele ang ating na-inherit? Do you understand now bakit walang A or B antigens present on the red cells of those individuals having a blood type O? Guys, are you still with me?
Paulit.
Saan
Pwede
ang
pong
uulitin ko, anak?
Kung
Inheritance
bakit
of O allele?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay. So sabi natin kanina, napag-usapan na natin ang inheritance ng ating A and B genes or A and B alleles in the ABO locus. So paano naman pag ang na-inherit natin ay yung O allele? Okay? So pag ang na-inherit natin ay yung O allele, sabi natin that this gene is amorph. Meaning, this is a silent gene. We keep reiterating that your O gene is an amorph or considered as a silent gene and it has no detectable product. So once na na-inherit natin ang O gene natin, it does not produce any protein. It does not produce any glycosyl transferase enzyme that will add sugar to the H antigen structure natin. That is why pag itong gene ang na-inherit natin, walang glycosyl transferase na maproproduce. So, pag walang glycosyl transferase na maproproduce, wala ding i-attach or ma-transfer na sugar dun sa ating H antigen structure. So, pag walang na-attach na sugar dun sa ating H antigen structure, the H structure remains unmodified. And as a result of this, guys, walang mangyayari na any enzymatic reaction once na ang na-inherit natin ay yung O gene. So as a result of this, red cells, the group O red cells do not carry A or B antigens, but they have numerous number of your H antigens. Basically because hindi na-convert yung H antigen structure natin into either your A and B antigen structures. Kasi wala namang na-produce na any glycosyl transferase. Wala namang na-add na sugar dun sa ating H antigen structure. Kaya, hindi na-modify or hindi na-convert yung H antigen natin into your A or B antigens. Kaya nga, sabi ko, paulit-ulit, your group O red cells do not carry A or B antigens, but they are very rich in your H antigens. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes po, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. How about the others? Are you still with me? Guys, ABO pa lang tayo. I know this is the concepts here are quite hard to understand, but I'm trying to explain it to you in a simplified manner. Mas mahirap intindihin later on ang RH blood group system. I tell you. Guys, magtanong na kayo if hindi nyo naiintindihan. Wala? Okay. I assume naintindihan yung lahat. Okay. If you're going to ask me, ma'am, paano naman if na-inherit natin both your A and B genes? Once na na-inherit natin ang both your A and B genes, of course, they will produce their respective enzymes. So, ang maproproduce dyan na enzymes would be both your D-galactosyl transferase and the N-acetyl galactosamynyl transferase. So, ang ma-add na sugar dun sa ating H structure would be both sugars also. Dalawang sugars din. Yung N-acetyl D-galactosamine at saka yung D-galactose sugar. Okay? Kasi both A and B antigens class ang ating na-inherit. Pag dalawa yung na-inherit nating genes, dalawa din yung magiging protein product. That would be, so pagtatanungin ko kayo later on, in the formation of in group O, pagtatanungin ko kayo later on, in group AB individuals, what is the gene product in the phenotype AB individuals? What is the gene product? That would be, ang sagot nyo sa akin would be dalawang proteins. We have your D-galactosyl transferase and the N-acetyl galactosamynyl transferase. And pagtatanungin ko kayo later on, what is or are the immunodominant sugars that confers for the specificity of those individuals having a blood type AB? Ang answer nyo would be 2 sugars. That would be your N-acetyl galactosamine and D-galactose. Kasi nga both A and B genes ang ating na-inherit. So dalawa din ang gene product at dalawa din ang magiging immunodominant sugar. However, you have to take note, class, that your B enzyme competes more efficiently for the substance, for the H substance than your A enzyme. Okay, so in the inheritance, so this statement, anong ibig sabihin ng statement na to? So in the inheritance of your A and B genes, okay, mas maraming mako-convert na H antigen into your B antigen compared to that of your A antigen. The H, you have to take note that the inheritance of both your A and B genes results in the conversion of your H antigen into both A and B antigen. Kaya nga, ang ating group AB na individuals or yung mga type AB natin na individuals, meron silang both your A and B antigens on their red cells. Kaso nga lang class, sabi dito that your B enzyme is or more efficiently, it competes more efficiently with that of your H substance. That is why mas marami ang napoproduce, mas marami yung nako-convert na H antigen into your B antigen than your A antigen. So in an AB individual, mas marami ang B antigens niya on the red cells kesa dun sa A antigens niya dun sa red cells. Okay, class. You have to memorize this table. Guys, you have to memorize this table. Again, this is one of the basic concepts na nasa board exam review. Okay. So you have to memorize this table. We have here the gene. We have your H gene, your A gene, and your B gene. Ano ang kanilang mga gene products? These are, for the H gene, we have your alpha-2 L-fucosyl-transferase or your FUT1. And then, ang immunodominant sugar niya would be your L-fucose. Ang end product niya ay your H antigen. So, in the inheritance of your A gene, we have a gene product, which is the alpha-3 N-acetyl-galactosamine transferase, and it adds the sugar and acetyl D-galactosamine on the H structure to form now your A antigen. And in here, we have the inheritance of your B gene, which produces alpha-3 D-galactosyl transferase, which adds the sugar D-galactose to the H structure to form now your B antigen. Guys, paki-memorize yung table ha. Okay? Let's have a summary here. Let's summarize yung na-discuss natin. So we can make a summary of what we have discussed dito sa figure na ito, dito sa illustration na to. Please, wag niyo munang intindihin ito, si Bombay phenotype. Ha? Focus kayo dito. Basta wag niyo munang intindihin itong part na to. Okay? So focus lang kayo dito. Okay, so in the formation of your A, B, and H antigens on the red cells, okay, take note, we are talking about red cells here. So when we are talking about the formation of red cell antigens, that is ang precursor substance natin, or the type of our precursor substance would be the type 2 precursor chain. Okay, so we have here your type 2 paragloboside. So in the inheritance of your H gene, so the inheritance of your H gene produces now the protein or the enzyme called the L-fucosyl transferase, and this enzyme will now add sugar L-fucose to the type 2 precursor chain to form now your H structure. Okay, so from this H structure, your A, your B, and your both AB antigens will now be formed. Okay, again, I repeat, from your H structure, your A, your B, and both your A and B antigens will now be formed. Okay, so paano? The inheritance of your the inheritance of your A allele, okay, or your A gene will now produce the enzyme called the N-acetyl-galactosaminil transferase. And this enzyme adds the N-acetyl-galactosamine sugar to the H structure to form now your A antigen. And for the B antigen, the formation of your B antigen, we have the inheritance of your B gene, which produces now the D-galactosyl transferase, and this enzyme will now add the sugar D-galactose into the H structure, which will now form your B antigen. And of course, the inheritance of both your A and your B genes will now produce both your N-acetyl-galactosaminil transferase and your galactosyl transferase. So both of these enzymes will now add the N-acetyl-galactosamine and D-galactose sugars into the H structure to produce now your express now your both A and B antigens on the red cells. Okay, so that is how your ABH antigens are being formed on the red cells. Questions? Meron? Wala? Questions? Wala?
None po, ma'am.
Naintindihan? Okay, let's proceed now. Let's proceed now to your to the formation of your A, B, and H soluble antigens. Ang pinag-usapan natin kanina, class, the formation of your A, B, H antigens on the red cells. Okay? So ngayon, pag-uusapan naman natin ang formation ng A, B, and H antigens sa ating body secretions and body fluids. So when we are talking about antigens in the body secretions and body fluids, we are talking about the soluble antigens. Okay? Huwag kayong malilito, ha? We have your red cell antigens and your soluble antigens. Okay. So ABH soluble antigens can be found in all body secretions, sabi ko kanina, except for your CSF. And the SE gene must be inherited to form now your ABO antigens in your secretions. So the SE gene is being located on your chromosome 19 together with your HH gene. Tama? Kasi your ABO gene is being located on your chromosome 19. Class, I have to keep reiterating these concepts para mas makabisado nyo. Okay? So, huwag niyong sabihin na si Ma'am paulit-ulit. Okay? I am doing it on purpose kasi gusto ko na mas maalala nyo. Mas mabilis nyong maalala. Okay? So again, your SE and the HH gene, these genes are located on your chromosome 19, and your ABO genes, they are located on chromosome number 9. Okay, so the SE locus class, it has two gene variations. It has two alleles. We have your SE, your big letter SE, and your small letter SE. Okay, so malalaman natin kung anong difference ng itong big letter SE natin and your small letter SE. So the inheritance of your SE gene codes now for the production of your alpha-2 L-fucosyl transferase that will add now L-fucose to the type 1 paragloboside. Nakukuha nyo yung difference Naiintindihan nyo? Class, the same story with that kung paano na-form ang ating ABH red cell antigens. Dito nga lang class, dito sa formation ng ating ABH soluble antigens, we are dealing with the type 1. Type 1 paraglobucide or type 1 precursor substance. Naintindihan? So in the formation now of your H substance, or your H antigen soluble, or when we say, class, when we say H substance, that is the soluble form. Huwag kayong malilito. When we say H substance, we are talking about the soluble form of this antigen. Okay, so in the formation of your soluble H, okay, first is the inheritance of your SE gene. So the inheritance of your SE gene will now produce or will now elicit the production of your enzyme called your alpha-2 L-fucosyl-transferase. And this enzyme class will now add the sugar L-fucose to the type 1 precursor substance instead of the type 2. Kasi yung type 2 natin, that is the formation of your H antigen in the red cell structure, in the red cell membrane. But when we say the addition of your L-fucose to the type 1 precursor substance, the end product of this enzymatic reaction would now be the soluble H antigen or the H substance. Nakuha? Gusto nyo bang i-illustrate natin? We have here your, let's go back to the general concept. We have here your paraglobucide. Specifically your type 1 precursor substance. So we have here your paraglobucide, specifically your type 1 precursor, that should be type 1 precursor substance. So, okay, paano na-form ang ating we have here the inheritance of your SEG. SEG. And in here, we have the inheritance of your SE gene. And this SE gene, this gene will now produce the protein called your L-fucosyl transferase. And this L-fucosyl transferase will now add the sugar. We have here a sugar. Mag-a-add siya ng sugar. This will add a sugar. Ang sugar na ito ay yung ating L-fucose. So this structure now, class, this entire structure H substance or the soluble H antigen. Meaning, this H antigen is found in your H antigens present in body secretions and body fluids. Okay? Class, naintindihan? So we have here muna the type 1 paraglobucide, type 1 paraglobucide. So in the formation of your H substance or your soluble H antigen, we have first the inheritance of your SE gene. The inheritance of this particular gene will now code for the production of your enzyme called the L-fucosyl transferase. Okay, L-fucosyl transferase. And this particular enzyme will now add the sugar L-fucose to this type 1 precursor substance. So the type 1 precursor substance plus the L-fucose sugar being attached to it, this entire structure is now your H substance or your soluble H antigen. Naintindihan? Guys, naintindihan nyo?
Yes, ma'am.
Ang pinagkaiba lang nila dun sa ating H antigen on the red cells
Precursor.
is the inheritance of your H gene. At saka, ang precursor substance natin ay type 2. Yun lang ang pinagkaiba nila, class. Do you understand? Guys, how about the others? Do I have to repeat it? Actually, ito na yung simplified manner of explaining the entire thing. Do you understand or not? Do I have to repeat it or hindi na? Is it clear? Or nalilito pa rin kayo? Can I have a response, please?
Ma'am, repeat na lang. Nagda-loading. Kasi ma'am, mahirap.
Come again?
Ma'am, repeat na lang po.
Repeat. I have to repeat it. Sige.
Yan lang part, ma'am.
So
Dito
for
lang.
the formation of your... Ano yun? Come again?
Yung dito lang na part, ma'am. Dito sa may SE part. Basta itong kwan na to, ma'am. Illustration na to.
Sige. So in the formation of your soluble H antigen, or meaning this H antigen present in the secretions and body fluids. So we have here the inheritance of your SE gene. The inheritance of your SE gene, okay? So the inheritance of your SE gene will now have or will now produce a protein or an enzyme called your L-fucosyl transferase. L-fucosyl transferase. And this L-fucosyl transferase will now add sugar L-fucose. It will now add the sugar L-fucose to this type 1 precursor substance. So the end product of this enzymatic reaction, class, is now your H substance or your soluble H antigen. Paano naman kapag yung H antigen on the red cell? We have here the inheritance of your H gene will now produce, para lang ma-differentiate, we have the inheritance of your H gene. We have the inheritance of your H gene that will now produce the enzyme called your L-fucosyl-transferase then. Okay, we have the enzyme here, which is the L-fucosyl-transferase. And this protein or this enzyme will now add the sugar L-fucose then. L-fucose to the structure, to the type 2. This is type 2. Ang hirap mag... This is the type 2 precursor substance. So the L-fucose plus the type 2 precursor substance will now form your H antigen on the red cells. Pag L-fucose plus the type 1 precursor structure, that will now form your soluble H antigen. Naintindihan? Class, naintindihan?
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay. So please, I've already explained this in the simplest manner. So I hope nakuha nyo. And okay, can someone from the group please explain to me paano natin naman na-produce ang soluble A antigen? Based from my explanation dun sa kung paano na-form ang ating H substance. Paano na-form ang ating A substance? You start from inheriting the gene. What gene? Anyone? I-pattern nyo yung explanation ko kanina dun sa H substance, formation ng H substance. Use this illustration. Anyone? Ria, can you please explain to the group?
Ma'am, wait lang po.
Ma'am, may tanong po ako.
Yes.
Pag po sa A-soluble, ma'am, ang magiging ano po ba, ang magiging dito? Precursor po is yung H-soluble structure po.
Ang magiging precursor structure mo, anak, in the formation of your H-soluble antigen would be the type 1 precursor substance.
Pag sa
Precursor
ano na
gene.
po, ma'am, pag yung A-soluble na po.
Ay, A-soluble?
Opo, ma'am.
Akala ko, that would be the H structure
H-soluble.
na. Yes, the H-soluble structure na. Akala ko H ang tinatanong mo.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So for the formation of your A and B soluble antigens na class, ang magiging precursor structure mo na dyan ay yung H soluble antigen structure. So Ria, may we hear from you?
Ma'am, wait lang. Parang mas nalito po ako sa mga shapes lang.
Okay, gamitin mo ang...
Ma'am?
Okay. I will explain the formation of A. Sundan nyo with... I will ask someone from the group mag-explain ng B. Sino yung
Yes, ma'am.
nagtatanong? Sino yung nag-ma'am? Sino yung nag-ma'am?
Adrian po.
Adi po, ma'am.
Yes, Adi. Ano?
Same lang po ba sila ng process dun po sa A
Yes, anak.
antigen?
That's why sabi ko kanina, same story with that of the formation of your A, B, and H antigen of the red cells. Ang pinagkaiba lang kasi nila is the precursor substance from your or the paragloboside. Type 2 dun sa formation ng red cell antigens, type 1 dito sa formation ng ating soluble antigens.
Okay na
Same
po, ma'am.
story. Okay, I will explain first your using this figure. I will explain formation of your A substance. When I say A substance, that is the soluble form of your A antigen. Naintindihan? Okay. In the formation of your A substance, we have the inheritance of your SE gene. The inheritance of your SE gene will now produce the protein or the enzyme called your N-acetylgalactosaminil transferase. And this particular enzyme will now add the N-acetylgalactosamine sugar into the H-soluble structure. Kaya ito, guys, ito yung ating H-soluble structure. And in the formation of your A antigen, ito yung ating H-soluble structure. Ngayon, may na-add na sugar. Ito yung na-add na sugar. Ito yung na-add na sugar, which is your N-acetylgalactosamine. So the addition of your N-acetylgalactosamine in your H-soluble structure will now form your A-soluble antigen or your A substance. Naintindihan? Paano na-form ang ating H-soluble antigen? Ang precursor substance niya ay yung type 1 precursor substance. Paano na-form ang ating A and B soluble antigens? Ang kanilang precursor substance or precursor structure would be your H-soluble structure. Same story dun sa ating red cell antigens. Okay, can someone please explain to us the formation of your B substance? Based from how I explained kanina yung nauna, your H and your A soluble antigens. Can someone try? Explain.
Ma'am, ako
Ma'am,
po.
pwede.
Ma'am, may tanong.
Formation of your... Tanong muna. Tanong, sige.
Ma'am, bale po,
Proceed.
pag sa A and B po na soluble, SE gene pa rin po yung magproproduce ng enzyme?
Yes, anak.
Okay po. Thank you po, ma'am.
Okay. Saglit. In the formation of your A and your B soluble antigens, sabi ko kanina, we have the inheritance of your SE gene, okay? And in addition to that, of course, you have your A gene. Dapat, meron pa rin yung A gene. Additional lang yung SE gene. Basta
So,
lagi niyong
bale-
tandaan, in the formation of your A and B antigens, laging merong inheritance of your A and B genes along with your, pag we are talking about soluble antigens,
soluble.
SE gene ang additional. Pag yung red cell antigens, dapat, ano pang gene ang mai-inherit natin aside from the ABO genes?
H gene.
H gene.
Okay, your H gene. Okay, ulitin ko na lang yung first part sa formation ng soluble substance, A substance. So in the formation of your A substance, we have the inheritance of your A gene along with your SE gene. So in this inheritance class, we have in the inheritance of your A gene along with your SE gene, your A gene will produce now your protein and acetyl-galactosamine transferase, and that will produce, and that enzyme or protein will now add the N-acetylgalactosamine sugar to the H-soluble structure, and that will form now your A substance. Okay, can someone please do it sa B? Sa B. Anyone? Guys, anyone?
Ma'am, try po.
Sige, Pat. So, in the formation of
the B substance or the B soluble is the inheritance, there is an inheritance of the B gene along with that of the SE gene, which will now produce the enzyme D-galactosyl transferase. And this enzyme, or specifically the D-galactosyl transferase, will now add sugar, which is the D-galactose, to the H-soluble structure or the precursor, which will result now to the inheritance of, which will now result to the formation of the B substance or the B soluble.
Okay, so that's it. So in your hindi. So tandaan nyo ha yung kung paano na-form ang ating ABH red cell antigens and your ABH soluble antigens. Okay, let's proceed now. So we have here an illustration, interaction of your H and your ABO genes together with your SE gene. So if the individual inherited these particular genes, we have your your A and B genes together with the H gene. Tapos, na-inherit niya rin ang SE or the big letter SE genes. So in a homozygous manner. So in the RBCs of this particular individual, meron tayong, we have your A antigen, your B antigen, and of course the H antigen. Though, sabi natin, though in this RBC, traces amount of your, bakit may H antigen pa doon? Because there might be a possibility that not all your that not all H antigens have been converted to your A and B antigens. So there might be a trace amount of your H antigen on the red cells. So in the saliva, we have here presence of your A, B, and H soluble antigens in the body secretions. We have the second example. If the individual inherited these particular genes, we have the AB, the HH, and this one, this particular gene, the small letter SE in a homozygous manner. So anong sabi natin sa small letter SE? This is
Amorph.
an amorph gene which has no detectable antigen product. So the inheritance of your big letter SE and your small letter SE will now categorize individuals into secretors and non-secretors. Pag secretors class, ito ang gene, ito ang genotype nila. And it can be this one. The inheritance of your big letter S and E gene makes individuals as secretors, meaning they have soluble antigens in their body secretions or body fluids. Pag ang na-inherit ng individual ay yung maliit na letter SE, that will make the individual as a non-secretor. Meaning, wala siyang soluble antigens, in his or her body secretions or body fluids. Okay? So once na ito ang na-inherit ng individual, he or she is considered as non-secretors. So, meaning walang A, B, and H soluble antigens present in the body secretion and body fluids. Only antigens in the red cells. So we have here, pag ito ang na-inherit naman na gene ng individual, we have the O gene. Anong sabi natin? The O gene is an amorph and it has no detectable antigen product, meaning walang both A and B antigens on the red cells. As well as in the body secretions. But since na-inherit niya ito, the big letter H, and H, sabi natin, the H gene has a detectable product, which is the H antigen. So meaning, my H antigen on the red cells. And since the individual also inherited this particular genotype, or the big letter SE, meaning secretor siya, kaya may H antigen, kaya may H soluble antigen dun sa kanyang saliva, or body secretions and other body fluids. Another example, we have here an individual having an O genotype, meaning pag O genotype, walang A and B antigens both in the RBC and in the body secretions. But since meron siyang H gene na na-inherit, and our H gene has the end product, which is the H antigen. So, merong H antigen on the red cells. Pero, bakit walang H soluble antigen dun sa saliva? Kasi nga, ang na-inherit niyang gene ay yung amorph or yung silent gene, which is the small letter SESE. So this is considered as a non-secretor individual that does not have soluble antigens on the body secretions and other body fluids. Okay. Let's have here another table. We have here your blood type O individual. They do not have. This is an ABH substance in the saliva of secretors. secretors to ha, class. So when we have a secretor which is a blood type O, walang A and B soluble antigens on the saliva, pero meron tayong H. Meron tayong H soluble antigen. A secretor who is a blood type A has, of course, an A soluble antigen in the saliva and no B soluble antigen. And it also has your H soluble antigen. A secretor B individual, secretor type B individual will have both your soluble B antigen plus your H antigen. And in here, a blood type AB individual who is a secretor has both, it has all your A, B, and H antigens in the body secretions and body fluids. May I ask you, bakit dito meron pa rin tayong H?
Ma'am, kasi po meron pong ano,
Correct.
Kasi parang may narinig na ako.
meron pa pong SE po na gene po.
Come again?
Ma'am, hindi niyo pa ako narinig.
Bakit
May SE po kasi na ano po, na inherit po na gene. Kaya may naaano pa rin pong nagagawang H substance po.
Okay.
Ma'am, kasi po ba precursor po siya?
Opo, yun.
That is another. That is another reason. Kasi precursor siya ng ating A and B
Genes.
that is the precursor substance, your H. Okay, we are talking about secretors here. So we are talking about soluble antigens. So your H soluble antigen is actually the precursor in the formation of your A and B soluble antigens.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so this is the comparison. You have to, again, you have to memorize this one. The comparison of your ABH antigens on your red blood cells with that of your ABH soluble antigens in your body secretions and body fluids. So in the red cell antigens, sabi natin, they can be glycolipids, glycoproteins, or glycosphingolipids. While your soluble antigens, they are mainly glycoproteins. Another point of differentiation, we have RBC antigens. They are being formed or they are being synthesized only on your type 2 precursor chain, while your soluble antigens, they are being synthesized on your type 1 precursor chain or precursor structure. Okay, so when we say type 2 class, we refer now to the beta 1 for linkage. That means the number 1 carbon of your galactose is being linked to the number 4 carbon of your N-acetyl galactosamine. And in here, in contrast to that, under your soluble antigens, we have a type 1 chain, meaning this refers now to the beta 1,3 linkage. The number 1 carbon of your D-galactose is being linked or attached to the number 3 carbon of your N-acetyl galactosamine. Okay? And lastly, POD or point of differentiation, we have the enzyme produced by your H gene is particularly an alpha-2 L-fucosyl transferase that acts primarily on your type 2. While in the formation of your soluble antigens, the enzyme produced by the SE gene is now your alpha-2 L-fucosyl transferase then, but this enzyme acts primarily on your type 1 chain or your type 1 precursor substance. Okay? So, yan ang difference ng ating ABH antigens in your red cells and ABH antigens in the secretions. Okay, so these are the examples of fluids in which your A, B, and H soluble antigens can be detected in individuals who are secretors. So we have here saliva, tears, digestive juices, bile, milk, evening milk, amniotic fluid, and also sa PF, your pleural fluid, peritoneal, pericardial. Okay?
Huh?
So those are
Ma'am, may
examples
tanong po
of
ako.
fluids. Ano yun na?
Ma'am, itong ABH
Before
soluble antigens,
questions, before we, ano yan? Ano?
yung ABH soluble antigens po ba is katulad din po ng antigens na nasa RBC, ma'am? Yung ano po, ma'am, yung
What do you mean?
itong ano po, ma'am, itong ABH soluble antigen is under po to sa mga blood antigens po?
Yes, ano? ABO blood group antigens can be found in two forms. Pareho lang yan. Pareho lang, but they can be found in two forms. It's either they can be found, these antigens, your ABO antigens can be found in your red cells, which are called now your red cell antigens, or these antigens can be found also in your body secretions and body fluids, and we call them your soluble antigens. But they
so ito-
belong to the same blood group system. They are still they are the same antigens belonging to the same ABO to this ABO blood group system.
Ma'am, so
Ano
ma-identify ko ba natin yung ano blood type kung itong mga saliva, tears, urine, ganun po yung gagamitin natin?
We have actually may separate na ano dyan, anak. We cannot determine the soluble antigens by simply doing your ABO phenotyping. May certain procedure dyan na ginagamit on identifying the ABO soluble antigens present in the secretions of individuals. You cannot identify, I repeat, you cannot identify ABO soluble antigens when we are doing your ABO phenotyping.
Thank you po,
Kasi your
ma'am.
ABO phenotyping, yes, your ABO phenotyping only pertains to your red cell antigens. There is a separate procedure on that. Kalimutan ko yung specific. I will try to look mamaya. Nasa manual yun ng BB na hawak ko. Okay,
Thank you po.
so I repeat, you cannot identify, though these antigens, yung red cell antigens and your soluble antigens, they belong to one blood group system. Okay, itong soluble forms natin ng antigen na to, we cannot identify them through your ABO phenotype. They need a separate procedure to that. Okay, for their detection. May queries pa? Before we proceed sa ABO subgroups,
Ma'am, wala na po.
okay. So in your ABO, we have, let's proceed now to your ABO subgroups. So your ABO subgroups, these subgroups represent now the phenotypes that show weaker variable serologic reactivity with that of your reagent, your anti-sera. So these phenotypes, class, they produce weak agglutination when the red cells are being tested with your anti-A, your anti-B, and your anti-AB reagents. So subgroups, paano tayo nagkakaroon ng subgroups? We have your subgroups because of the variation in the amount of antigen being expressed on the red cell membrane. Okay, so under your blood type A phenotype, we have two major subgroups. Okay, we have two major subgroups. We have your A1 and your A2. So your A1 class, your A1, these are group A red blood cells that react with both of your anti-A and your anti-A1. Okay, your A1 antigen class, your A1 phenotype. These are group A red blood cells that react now with both of your anti-A reagent and your anti-A1 reagent. So your A2 naman, these are group A red blood cells that react with your anti-A only. So meaning, what reagent differentiates now your A1 from your A2 phenotype? This is, we are making use of your anti-A1 reagent. This anti-A1 lectin class comes from the seed extract of your Dolichos biflorus. Nasa notes nyo, nasa baba. Ito, this one.
Yes, ma'am. So the choose my flow.
Dolichos biflorus. That is the source of your anti-A1, or also known as your anti-A1 lectin. When we say lectin kasi class, these are your seed extracts. Gaya nito, your anti-H lectin, this is a seed extract from your Ulex europaeus. We also have your Simplicea, Banderia simplicifolia. This is for your anti-B lectin. Okay? Tandaan nyo rin yan. Yung mga lectins na yan, sources of those lectins. Nasa review din yan. Okay? So, saan na tayo? Okay. So, sabi ko, what differentiates now your A1 from your A2 phenotype is you are going to test the red cells with your anti-A1 lectin. Okay, and the source of your anti-A1 lectin, again, I repeat, is the seed extract from the seed extract of your Dolichos biflorus. Okay, so A1, kapag nagre-react siya with both your anti-A and your anti-A1. But A2, nagre-react lang siya with your anti-A and not in your anti-A1. Okay, so the production of both types of antigens is a result of your inherited gene at an ABO locus. So in here, paano tayo nagkakaroon ng A1 antigen on the red cells? So we have here the inheritance of your A1 gene. So the inheritance of your A1 gene will now elicit the production of your enzyme, the same enzyme, the alpha-3N acetylgalactosamine transferase, which will now convert your H antigen into your A1 antigen. Okay, gaano karami ang A1 antigen on the red cells of a group A1 having a group of an individual having a group A1 phenotype. It has actually 810 thousand to 1,170,000 on the adult RBC. Okay? So, sabi natin, ang PME1, your A2 phenotype. So, inheritance of your A2 gene. So, in the formation of your A2 antigens, we have here the inheritance of your action of the same enzyme, which will now add the sugar, your N-acetylgalactosamine, to the H structure, and this will convert now your H antigen structure to your A2 antigens.
Ma'am,
So,
it's
Ma'am,
okay.
medyo
as
lag na
you can
po.
see,
Sabi
mas
po.
marami ang number ng ating Okay, class, can you hear me?
Yes.
Opo, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes po, ma'am. Yes.
Or, sige. So, as you can see here, in your notes, the antigenic sites or the antigenic your antigenic determinants for the specificity of your A2 antigen or your A antigen decrease ang mas marami ang antigenic sites of your A1 compared to your A2. But the same lang ang kanilang antigen, but they differ only in the amount or number of antigens present on the red cells. Okay, so when I say group A1 phenotype, the immunodominant sugar for your A1 and your A2 phenotype would still be the N-acetyl-D-galactosamine. Okay. So we have here the difference of your phenotype A1 and your A2. For your phenotype A1, it has ano ang antigens present on the red cells? We have both your A and your A1 antigens. But for your A2 phenotype, we have here antigens present on the red cells. We have your A antigen only. That's why in here, in the reaction, when we react the red cells of these individuals with that of our reagents, so in your A1 red cells will have an agglutination with both of your anti-A and your anti-A1, mainly because or basically because it has both your A1 and your A antigen present on the red cells. Okay. So for your A2 class, in contrast with your A2 phenotype, the red cells of these individuals having this phenotype, okay, they have when we react their red cells with that of your anti-A and your anti-A1, ang agglutination lang would be detected in your anti-A, mainly because they only have an antigen A, the A antigen present on their red cells.
Ma'am,
Okay? Po, yes.
ma'am, possible po ba na yung isang group po is mag-inherit po ng both A1 gene and A2 gene po?
Ano? Possible ba
possible-
na?
Yung tao po ay mag-inherit po both A1 and A2 po.
Same tayo ng question, Adi.
A1 and
A2 po.
ano? Both A1 and
A2.
A2.
Yes po.
A2? Yes, that can be, pwede yan anak. An individual can inherit both the A1 gene and the A2 gene. That will now form a genotype of your A1 and A2 genotype. But ang magiging phenotype ng ating, ang magiging phenotype ng ating nung individual na yun would be A1 phenotype.
Okay po. Thank you po.
Okay. It is possible, anak. You can inherit both genes, your A1 gene and your A2 gene. That will now form a genotype of A1, A2 genotype. Pero ang magiging phenotype niya, ang observable characteristic ng individual na yun would be an A1 phenotype. Kasi mas dominant ang A1 kaysa sa A2. I hope I answered your question. Wala na? May tanong pa? Okay. So you have here, class, paki-add dyan sa lecture notes ninyo, jot down, for your A1 phenotype, another point of differentiation, additional lang. For your A1 phenotype, you have here branch A antigens. Branch as in branching. BRANCHED, A antigens. Your branch A antigens. Branch A antigens on the red cells. While you're for dun sa A2 phenotype ninyo, class, linear A antigens. Linear A antigens. We are talking about structure here, huh? So branch A antigens in your A1 phenotype, and then in your A2 phenotype, we have a linear A antigens. Linear A antigens. Okay na? So another. No, actually, na-discuss ko na pala yung tatlo. Yung number of antigen sites. Pag A1, you have there 810,000 to 1,170,000 antigen sites on the adult RBC. In contrast to that of your A2, you only have 240,000 to 290,000 antigen sites. Another point of differentiation, positive, your A1 phenotype, red cells are positive with your anti-A. Positive with your anti-A. Same with your A2 phenotype, positive also with your anti-A. And then last point of differentiation, positive with your anti-A1 lectin ang ating A1. And for your A2 phenotype, negative with anti-A1 lectin. Okay. Okay, let's have here this table. We have here your phenotypes A1 and your A2. When individuals are being tested with this particular reagents or anti-sera, we have A, basically because it has your A1 phenotype red cells has your A antigen. Tama? Both your A and A1 antigen. While for your A2 phenotype red cells, they only contain your A antigen. Tama? Guys, yung kakasabi ko lang kanina, your A1 phenotype, anong antigens na sa kanilang red cells? Both your A and your A1 antigens, while your A2, A antigens. Kuha? Are you still with me? That's why when you test the red cells of this phenotype with the anti-sera, may agglutination siya with your anti-A and your anti-A1. Sinama natin tong anti-AB. Sabi natin your anti-AB is a cross-reactive protein. Anti-AB is a cross-reactive and your AB antigens. That's why my agglutination here, because it recognizes the A antigen structure. Okay? Kaya may agglutination dyan. So in your, under naman sa antibodies, anong present na antibodies in this phenotype? Sabi natin, may A antigen siya on the red cells. That's why it produces A. These individuals can produce an antibody which is the anti-B. Naintindihan? But no unexpected antibodies. And if the individual is considered as a secretor, so ang present na soluble antigens sa kanyang saliva would be your A and the H soluble antigens. Let's have naman your A2 phenotype. Positive siya, may agglutination siya with your anti-A basically because in the red cells, it contains your A antigen only. And also, it reacts with your, or it agglutinates with your anti-AB because sabi natin, your anti-AB has also a specificity with your A antigen. That's why may reaction siya dyan. And of course, in here, wala siyang reaction because that differentiates your A2 with that of your A1. Kasi ang A2 natin, hindi siya nag-agglutinate or nagre-react with your anti-A1 lectin. So the common antibody present in the serum or plasma of these individuals would be anti-B because it has no B antigen on the red cells. Kaya anti-B ang na-produce. Okay, take note of this. We have here an unexpected antibody present in the serum or plasma of your A2 phenotype individuals. We have your anti-A1. Why anti-A1? Bakit may presence of anti-A1 in the serum or plasma of these individuals?
Kasi wala po siyang anti-A1, wala po siyang A1 cells po.
Okay, no anak. It has no A1 antigen present on the red cells. Kasi ang meron lang sa kanya is the A antigen. Okay, pagtatanungin ko kayo later on, paano nangyari yan? You would answer, dapat sasagot niyo sa akin would be, basically because your A2 red cells has no A1 antigen. It has only A antigen. Kaya nagkaroon tayo ng unexpected production of your anti-A1 in the serum or plasma of your of these individuals. Okay, but very rare lang naman ito na nangyayari, 1 to 8% of cases. Okay, so in the saliva, if these individuals will be considered as secretors, so in their saliva, ang present na soluble antigens would be your A and H. And this is the number of antigenic sites in the red cell membrane. Okay, So guys, this is one, the presence of your anti-A1 antibodies in your individuals having this phenotype causes now an ABO discrepancy in your ABO phenotyping. Okay, presence of your extra antibodies. Okay, you have to memorize this. Okay, lectins used in blood banking. We have here Dolichos biflorus. This is your anti-A1 lectin, and this agglutinates now your A1 and your A1B cells. So we have here Banderia simplicifolia. This is the source of your anti-B lectin. Okay, so this anti-B lectin agglutinates now your B cells. And we also have here your Eulex europaeus. This is the source for your anti-H lectin, and this agglutinates your O cells. Why does it agglutinate your O cells? Why is it that your anti-H agglutinates when tested with your O red cells, it agglutinates, it forms an agglutination or a reaction? Why?
Rich po siya sa H antigen po, which is hindi po siya na-modify since wala pong presence ng A at B gene.
Yes, okay. So your group O red cells has an agglutination, or it has a reaction when tested with that of your anti-H lectin, mainly because your group O red cells have, or they are rich in unmodified H antigens. Okay. So let's have here now the reactivity of your anti-H sera with that of your ABO blood groups. Who has the highest amount of your H antigen? Your group O. Okay, your group O red cells, they have the greatest amount of your H antigen, followed by your A2. Okay, your A2, and then your B, and then A2B, A1, and A1B. Okay, followed by your A2. Why A2? Because bakit mas maraming H ang ating, bakit mas maraming H antigen dun sa red cells ng ating A2 compared with your A1? Mainly because your A1 class has greater number of A antigenic sites on the red cells. Kokonti ang, meaning pag mas marami ang A antigens present on the red cells of these individuals, meaning mas marami yung A antigen, mas maraming H antigen ang na-convert into your A1, and kokonti yung natira na unmodified H antigens. Dito kasi mas kokonti ang antigenic sites for your A antigen. That's why mas marami ang unconverted na H antigen compared with that of your A1. Okay? Kaya mas madaming H antigen kasi mas kokonti ang antigenic sites for your A antigen on these red cells. Okay? Okay. Let's have now your weak A subgroups. Any questions? Any questions, class?
Ma'am, none po.
Okay. So, guys, sinamarize ko na lang yung your weak A subgroups. Actually, they are nice to know concepts under your ABO blood groups. So, kaya dito, hindi na ako nagbigay ng detailed na description in each of these phenotypes kasi you have to take note, class, that weak A subgroups are weaker than your A2, meaning they occur very rare, or halos hindi sila namamanifest, or hindi sila, they do not occur in individuals kasi very rare sila. Okay, these phenotypes. They may occur but rarely. Okay, rarely or not at all. Okay, so this is the summary of the characteristics of your weak ABO phenotypes. Okay, so may summary na dyan. And also in here. Okay, so and so with your weak B subgroups, they kung gaano ka-rare ang ating weak A subgroups, ganun din ka-rare ang ating weak B, mas rare pa ang ating weak B subgroups. So, we have here the summary table for the characteristics of your B phenotype. So your B phenotype including your weak B subgroups. Okay. So let's have now your Bombay phenotype. Your Bombay phenotype. It's already 11. Actually, last na ata to. Yeah, last. Okay, let's proceed with your Bombay phenotype and your para-Bombay phenotype. So, Bombay phenotype class, bakit siya Bombay? Bakit siya tinawag na Bombay? Because the first case na report having this phenotype is actually in Bombay, India. Okay, in Bombay, India, that's why tinawag tong phenotype na to as your Bombay phenotype. Okay, and your Bombay phenotype is designated as OH. Class, maliit na H yan, ha? Dahil lang yan sa font na ginamit ko. So that would be O, tapos maliit na subscript na maliit na H. Pakipalit dyan sa notes ninyo. Your Bombay phenotype is designated as big letter O, tapos subscript niya ay small letter H. Small letter H. Okay. Excuse me. So this phenotype, it represents the inheritance of a double dose of your H gene. Double dose of your H gene, meaning the recessive inheritance of your amorph gene, which is the H gene. So HH, yung genotype ng ating individuals having this phenotype. So what is the genotype of your OH phenotype? That would be your HH. Parehong small letter H. Okay. So this genotype class is very rare, is considered as very rare. So the ABO genes cannot be expressed. The ABO genes cannot be expressed in this phenotype, and the ABH antigens cannot be formed. Okay, so since in this phenotype class, the ABO genes cannot be expressed, and we have here an inheritance of your HH. We have the inheritance of your amorph or your silent gene H. So ABH antigens cannot be formed in the red cells. Okay. So HH meaning wala siyang detectable antigen product. Wala siyang walang maproproduce na H antigen. That's why wala tayong A and B antigens. Aside from wala tayong H antigen. So in your Bombay phenotype, no A, B, H antigens present on the red cells of these individuals. Naintindihan? So the RBCs are being devoid of the normal ABH antigens, and therefore when the red cells of these individuals are being reactive reacted to the anti-sera, your anti-A, anti-B, and anti-H, there will be no agglutination. Okay, so your Bombay group class, your Bombay phenotype, they are considered as blood group O. Okay, basically because they do not have A and B antigens. They do not have A and B antigens. So in here, the Bombay anti-H can often be potent. Okay, bakit may anti-H in their serum or plasma? Kasi wala silang H antigen on their red cells. Okay, kaya itong mga individuals having the Bombay phenotype, they have the presence of your anti-H in their serum or plasma, basically because they do not have your H antigen present on their red cells. Okay, these anti-H class are mainly IgM antibody that reacts at 37 degrees Celsius, and this IgM antibody class are considered of clinical significance. You are going to ask me, Ma'am, di ba ang IgM antibody natin, it reacts best at room temperature or even lower temperatures. Bakit sinasabi mo dyan na the anti-H is an IgM antibody class and it reacts at 37? It is possible, class. Your IgM antibodies can react at 37 degrees Celsius, and once na nag-react ang ating IgM in your 37 degrees Celsius, it is considered as, this antibody is considered as of clinical significance, meaning it can have this antibody, pag nag-react siya at 37 degrees Celsius, it can cause your transfusion reaction. Okay? Most of your, another thing is that your IgM antibodies, since most of them class, they do not, some of your IgM that reacts at room temperature or even lower temperatures, they are not considered as of clinical significance. They are usually considered of clinical significance once na nag-react sila at this temperature. You have to remember that. Medyo pumapause na ako. You have to remember that. Okay? Paano natin nako-consider na yung IgM antibody natin as of na may clinical significance sila? That would be when they reacted, most of them, pag nag-react sila with this temperature, 37 degrees Celsius. Okay? You have to watch out for that. If you identify an IgM antibody that reacts at 37 degrees Celsius, that can possibly, the antibody can cause a transfusion reaction on the recipient. Okay, once it is being transfused on the recipient. So, why is it that my question here is that dapat pag nag-transfuse tayo, so individuals who have a Bombay phenotype, okay, must be transfused with units having the same phenotype. Dapat Bombay to Bombay din. Why? Bakit hindi tayo pwedeng mag-transfuse ng group O sa kanila? Kasi sabi naman natin, Bombay, individuals having Bombay phenotype are typed as as group O. Type O sila. So bakit kailangan natin, once na kailangan nila ng transfusion, bakit ang itra-transfuse natin sa kanila ay those units having, or dapat ang magiging donor nila is those individuals na may Bombay phenotype din. Why not? Bakit hindi tayo pwedeng mag-transfuse ng group O? Eh sinabi naman natin, they are actually group O, blood type O. Why? di ba? So that
Ma'am,
is a question that we have to ponder on.
ma'am,
Bakit kailangan
whole
Bombay
blood,
to Bombay?
whole blood po ba, ma'am? Ma'am, kasi
Yes.
ano,
May H
ah,
antigen po rin.
yung blood O po kasi na pag normal blood O po na whole blood po from other patient po is mataas
Yes.
po yung number po ng H antigen
H
po.
antigen.
Yung Bombay po kasi is may anti-H po siya. So magkakaroon po ng reaction.
Okay, so the anti-H, thank you for that. The anti-H present in the plasma or serum of these individuals having the Bombay phenotype will now react with the H antigen present in your group O normal group O cells. So that will cause now an antibody antigen complex that will be recognized by your complement system, and that can cause a subsequent hemolysis. Okay, so that can cause a transfusion reaction. Okay? That's why ang kailangan lang dapat natin na i-transfuse with individuals who are having this phenotype would also be those individuals having Bombay phenotype as well. Okay? So we have the last one, the para-Bombay phenotype. The para-Bombay phenotype designation ng individuals having this phenotype ay class, pakipalit ulit. That would be big letter H and then subscript small letter H. Small letter H yan. So AH, BH, and ABH. So in here, in this is also a very rare phenotype. So these phenotypes have RBCs that are completely devoid of H antigens, or kung meron man, these antigens present are of very small amounts only. Okay? Trace amounts of your H antigen present on the red cells. Okay? Completely devoid or trace amounts of your H antigen on the red cells. So RBCs of these individuals express weak forms of your A and your B antigens. Why weak forms? Because sabi natin, kung may presence man of your H antigen on the red cells, very small amount only. So very small amount of your H antigen present on the red cells will now form very small amount also of your A and B antigens. That is why if you test the red cells of these individuals with your anti-sera, it will have a very weak reaction, okay, due to the decreased amounts of your A and B antigens in the red cells, on the red cells, okay? So your A or B enzymes can be detected. They can be detected, but no H enzyme is detectable, okay? Class, while it is stated here that small amounts of your H antigen is present on the red cells. Okay, there is actually the formation of your H enzyme. There is actually the production of your H enzyme, pero hindi siya detectable kasi very small lang yung amount niya. Kaya very small amount lang din yung na-produce na H antigen dun sa RBCs. And kaya din very small amount ang na-produce na A and B antigens natin kasi nga very small amount din ang na-produce na H antigen. Nakukuha? We have here, sabi natin, we have the your A and B enzymes can be detected, but hindi nadidetect ang H enzyme because very small amount ang kanyang number. Okay, it comes in a very small amount. So individuals having this phenotype has no H, A, or B antigen present in the saliva. It has no H, A, and B antigens present in the saliva, and may anti-H sila na present sa serum. May anti-H sila kasi meron pa. Why? Bakit may anti-H sila? Because while it is true na since we have here your sabi natin may H antigen tayo. So sinabi natin we don't have H antigen. Sinabi natin na we have the presence of your H antigen on the red cells. So dapat ang expected dyan, since may presence of H antigen, ang ina-expect dapat natin would be walang the presence of your H antigen on the red cells dapat walang maproproduce na anti-H. Kasi sabi natin, may H antigen tayo on the red cells. And dapat wala siyang anti-H. Kaso nga lang, very small amount lang ang present on the red cells. Kaya halos hindi yun ma-recognize ng ating katawan. That's why naproproduce siya ng anti-H. Kaya merong anti-H in the present in the serum. Okay. So in the serum of your AH, your anti-B, no anti-A, and anti-A1 may be present. So in the serum of your BH, individual, your anti-B, okay, your anti-B may be detected. Aside from your anti-A, your anti-B may be detected. Why? Because, why? Bakit possible na madidetect ang anti-B? Guys, bakit? Why is it possible na madidetect natin ang anti-B? In the serum of your BH phenotype individuals, sabi natin, it contains your anti-A and possible na may madetect tayong anti-B. Why? Why is it possible? It is possible, okay, it is possible, class, that your anti-B can be detected in the serum of your individuals having your BH phenotype, because you have to understand, class, that in the red cells of these individuals having the Para Bombay phenotype, very small amount lang ang antigens na present. Dito. In the phenotype of in this phenotype, the BH phenotype, ano ang present sa kanyang red cells? It is your B antigen. Tama? You agree with me?
Yes po.
So, dapat it is expected na wala dapat siyang
Anti-B.
anti-B in the serum or plasma. Kaso nga lang, class, this very rare phenotype has very small amount of your B antigen on the red cells that it is hard for us to almost detect all of it. So once na you test the red cells of these individuals with your anti-B, anti-sera, it is possible na magkaroon ng reaction kasi nga possible na may possibility pag sa reverse, may possibility na meron siyang anti-B kasi nga halos walang merong small amount pero halos walang B antigens on the red cells. Very small amount only of your antigens is present on the red cells. Kaya possible na nag-create siya ng anti-B on the serum or plasma. Okay? Because ang reason lang dyan is because of the very weak expression of your B antigens on the red cells. Okay? Kaya may possibility na may anti-B. So the anti-H in the serum is considered as weaker in reactivity compared to that of the anti-H found in your Bombay phenotype. Okay. So in here, in the last table, you have here the general characteristics of your Bombay or your OH or your H-null phenotype. H-null phenotype. So you have here the summary, absence of H, A, and B antigens, okay? Because of the inheritance of the silent gene H, at saka wala ding inheritance of your ADO genes. So walang H, A, and B antigens. So no agglutination in your anti-A, anti-B, and anti-H reagents. Also, the presence of your anti-AB, anti-AB, as well as your anti-H in the serum. Kasi your red cells are being devoid, the red cells are devoid of your H, A, and B antigens. And of course, your ABH, non-secretor, so no A, B, H substances in the body secretions and body fluids. Of course, since ang na-inherit ng individual na ito ay yung silent gene, which is the small letter H, KHH. So we have here the absence of your H enzyme. So no production of your H enzyme, which is your alpha-2 L-fucosyl-transferase. And also the presence of your A and your B enzymes in the serum, depending on the genotype. So your RBC, the RBCs of your Bombay phenotype, when reacted with your anti-H lectin, so ang magiging result would be no agglutination. Kasi walang H antigen on the red cells. So RBCs of the Bombay phenotype, they are compatible only with the serum from another Bombay individual, and bigyan naman na natin yan ng explanation kanina. Okay, so additional class, may dadagdag lang sana ako for the paki-note na lang guys dyan sa lecture notes ninyo. This is an additional info under the A subgroups. Sa A subgroups. For your A subgroups, so who has the highest number of your A antigens? So you have here most the red cell having the highest number of your A antigen is actually the A1. A1 followed by the A2, and then followed by the A3, followed by AX, and then the fewest class is the AL, A subscript EL. So your A1 red cells has the highest number of your A antigens, followed by your A2, followed by your A3, and then followed by AX, and then ang fewest, who has the fewest A antigen, you have the AL, A subscript EL, small letter EL. So again, I repeat, pag sa H antigens naman, ang highest would be your group O red cells, followed by your A2, then your B, then your A2B, and then A1, then ang fewest red cells who has the fewest H antigens would be your A1B. Kuha? Okay, so may mga katanungan? May tanong class? Ang coverage ng inyong oral exam would be both the written at saka yung oral exam ninyo would be, when I say written sa LMS, that would be sa LMS. Ang coverage niya would be your the genetic principles in blood banking and then yung ABO blood group system natin. Together with your H blood group system. That is the coverage for the orals. Yes, magtanong na kayo for the orals.
Ma'am, ABO blood, itong task lang po ba natin yung sa orals po?
I might
Ma'am,
get... Gusto niyo ba kumuha ako sa genetic principles?
Ma'am, wag na
Pero guys, kukuha ako dun sa genetic principles sa written exam niyo sa LMS. But in your orals, I will give purely ABO blood group system.
Opo.
And your actually, wala namang case study dito because this is not a laboratory part. So, all questions, explain the concept. Explain the concept. Lahat ng tanong, explain the concept. Explain the concept or you explain the figure. Okay, so you have a clue now, Have to either explain the concept, explain the figure. Okay?
Ma'am, yung parang magpa-flash ka ng...
I hope walang mazi-zero na sa inyo. Please lang. Yes, pag explain the figure, of course, I have to flash something and then I will let you explain that. Okay, sina, magtanong na kayo sa orals.
Ma'am, ilang tanong?
Still three questions.
Ma'am, ilang minutes po sa sagot? Ganun pa rin, ma'am.
Yes, ganun pa rin.
1 minute. and
I will
Oh, may time pa rin.
allow you to class think of your answer or formulate of your answer for 30 seconds. Pero kasi yung iba sa inyo dumidiretso na. So bahala kayo kung gamitin niyo yung 30 seconds na pag-formulate ng sagot or not. I-add na yon dun sa kung paano niyo i-deliver yung sagot niyo. So delivery of your answers would take, I will give you since explanation lahat, I will give you 1 minute 30 seconds up to 2 minutes to deliver your answers. Ha? Nasabi ko naman na we will start from top to bottom. You make use of the same list. Unahin natin ang nasa top. And ganun yung arrangement ninyo dun sa mga dun sa arrangement ninyo dun sa oral exam. Mauna ang mauna ang B since sila ang last time, followed by C, then last ang A since sila yung first blood last time. Okay? Okay na? Your exam will be accessible by Saturday. But I will give you a week. It will be open for what? For 5 days pala. 5 days. Sa LMS, 5 days. Questions? May tanong? Yes, Jez. What is your question? Hala, may klase kayo kay Sir NJ. Sige, you may go now. Sorry, kakabasa ko lang.
Ma'am, kanina pa pong 11.
Hala, sorry, kakabasa ko lang. You may go now. Oh my, sorry. Wala nang questions? Wala na? Wala na kayong gusto i-clarify? Guys, wala na? Jez, oo, yung orals ninyo would be sa ABO and H blood group system lang. Okay na? O, you may proceed to your next class na. Jasmine, I need to talk to you pala. After your class na lang, anak, ha? Jasmine.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Ma'am, ako din
Okay.
po. Ma'am.
Yes. Sino yun? Si
Ma'am.
Adi?
Opo, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, ma'am, ang na-accomplish pa lang po namin is yung pagpapapirma po ng communication letter at yung pag-ano po sa barangay health worker po. Pero hindi pa po kasi makaproceed po sa data collection po kasi problema po namin yung problema po namin noon, ma'am, yung sinabi po namin. Yung ano po, hindi po kami makahanap ng RRL po.
Please let us talk mamaya.
Opo, ma'am.
Mamaya.
Yes, ma'am.
Sige. Ano muna kayo kay Sir NJ. Sige. Bye-bye. Bye everyone. Thank you for being with me
Thank you, ma'am.
today. Yes. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.